Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone.
Oh, you didn't do the count today, so you're throwing me off, Raj. You're throwing me off. Hello, everybody. I was expecting a countdown, so I kind of delayed on the initial hello, we're live kind of thing. So we'll give it everybody a little bit of time to start rolling in here. I know generally people kind of roll in a little bit late. That's fine. So hello, 714 Trader. Are you from Orange County? I would assume so. Hello, Sheep Zero. Good name, Maria or Marie. I'm sorry, Coach. Um, cool. So today's stream, as you know, we're gonna kind of get into the dashboard and looking at some data to hopefully hone some people's strategies and um, find actionable things that actually help you to get better as a trader. Because trading isn't necessarily all about the end result. A lot of people think so much about the outcome of a trade when really the primary focus of trading should be on the process, and how you get to that end result is through process, right? So thank you everybody for joining. Looks like people are still rolling in. Let's do a quick, I guess maybe a quick questions. If anybody has any questions before we really start and get into this is a great time. I'm open to answer any questions, tough questions, easy questions, whatever. Throw them at me. Let's dig into it. We do have some guests today. I really want to shout out to them. I greatly appreciate their time and giving us the opportunity to dig into their data, because it's a private matter. It's not fun to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what you're doing, and maybe some of the things that you're struggling on, and sharing that is it's very personal. As part of that, we just really want to extend our warm thanks and gratitude for them providing their time and their data so we can look into it. Sortino ratio. So I don't really look at that too much. I know it is a ratio that Josh and Brandon developed, and it's a well-established ratio. I don't know. I haven't really worked on it too much. I generally lean towards the MAE and MFE, which is the max favorable excursion and max adverse excursion. Those are metrics I like to look at. Those are metrics we'll be plugging into the system soon. I can do a little bit of research on that ratio. I don't really utilize that ratio much, so unfortunately I can't give you a full explanation of it. I'm sorry. Cool. Any other questions? Hopefully questions that I know the answer to. Please provide those questions. It's a lot better if I know the answer to them. That's a joke, by the way. Sometimes my humor is very dry, so forgive me. I think I'm funny, but I'm not. So that's a thing. Cool. I think we have quite a few risk-adjusted return of a strategy. It is a modification of the Sharpe ratio. There you go. There is the answer. Thank you, Raj. I'm assuming he did that for us. Cool. So great week so far as opportunities in the market. How has everybody been trading? And what I mean by that is not necessarily your P&L, but like, how are you guys doing with the process? Because process is king. And is everybody been doing well with like tagging their trades? That's the primary thing we should be doing as a trader. We really should, each trade you take, I don't care if you do anything else. If you're not doing your morning check-in or your routine, like that stuff doesn't matter as much as making sure you are tagging all your setups. Because if you don't tag your trades as setups, then the data really doesn't do much for you. And you should be data driven, because with data you can hone your edge, you can get better, you can find things to cut out or do more of those things. And the data, unfortunately, is the most important thing, and it's kind of the hardest thing to do in trading. Taking trades is easy, right? But collecting the data is the hard part, but that is the work, and that's really what's important. Yeah, scalping is welcome, as long as it doesn't violate CME rules. That would be like where you're trading two different accounts two different ways, like one account you're long, one account you're short in. we allow scalping. It doesn't matter about the timing. You know, if you're in and out of trades very quickly, that's fine. You know, things you could run into if it's an automated system and you're pulling and adding to the book a lot, you could get a warning from the CME on that, and we would pass that down to you. But as far as scalping goes, we're very scalper friendly. We're actually looking at developing a way to allow the journal to be more beneficial for scalpers. It's not the best solution, but we're probably going to break it into times. Actually, just did a mock-up this week, and Brandon's going to start working on that to implement a scalping feature in our journaling, which would just break down time periods. So, you know, every 30 minutes or every 15 minutes, it would give you, like, let's say 9:30 to 10, and it would count all those trades in that time period as being a single trade, where you could tag, you know, let's say it's 15 different trades that you took during those 30 minutes, and you could tag all those trades as one particular setup, because generally scalpers are looking for key areas. They scalp around those areas, and those are their trades, right? So it's a way to add value to scalping without having to have people like literally tag, you know, hundreds of trades, more tag by the hour or by the 30 minutes or 15, whatever we decide to allow that to do. All right, cool. Ooh, that's not good. Went full tilt today. Didn't follow my process, so I closed out the day with this stipend profit. You know, tilt is a thing that we can get into a little bit. Here's advice that I have for tilt. And tilt works both ways. Profit tilt, meaning once you're in profits, you start pushing really hard and you get caught up in your emotions of seeing these big green spurts in your account and thinking, oh my God, look how much I'm up. And you lose sight of what's important in trading, which is management of risk, right? That's what you are. You are a risk manager, right? And when you go in tilt either to the upside or downside, generally there's a trigger point that you can identify through journaling and being self-aware and being present in the moment. And I know it sounds a little cheesy, but that's the reality, is to identify tilt before you're not able to control it. And you do that by journaling. And the process that I utilize would be, as soon as you enter a trade, I'll just demo it real quick. Raj, could you jump on my screen? So let's say here in TFT, I jump in and you can see I took some test trades to get some data. Let's say I jump in here and for whatever reason, I think this is a good trade. This is a breakout. Please don't trade this trade. This is literally for an example, nothing more. Let's say I jump in this trade and, you know, now I'm in this trade and it's a loser, right? Oh man, I just lost money. Okay. Why this is important and what I'm trying to establish and help people understand is, every time you're in a trade, right after you take it, start documenting how you feel, right? Because what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to understand, where's my, oh, here's the notes. Understand how I'm feeling in the moment after one single loss, 2 losses, 3 losses, 4 losses, and so on and so forth. Because look, through doing this and being self-aware of each trade that I take, it's going to help me to identify my trigger point where I lose logical thought process and I get into emotional based thought process, right? And if I know what that trigger point is before I get into a point where I can't control it, because just like you, I get into tilt too. And that happens after 2 trades for me. It's only 2 for me. And I am a scalper. So after 2 trades, I literally have to get up off my desk and go do something hands-on, interrupt it with some type of logical thought process, either making a sandwich or going for a walk, doing something outside of trading. And then when I sit back down, I get back into a basically like a system, a routine of checking back in. Okay, and what I mean by that is, as you can see, I just took that trade, and what you're supposed to do is, after you take a losing trade or a winning trade, sit down and do a self-assessment. And this is, okay, so was my breathing normal? Yeah, I was breathing normal. Did I have tension in my shoulders? No, I was good. Was I gripping my mouse all crazy? No. You know, my grip was fine. I wasn't tense. I wasn't leaning in. You know, I wasn't holding my breath. everything felt normal in my body, right? And you got to understand what your normal state is. So I could go here and say, hey, felt normal after one loss, nothing different, felt good. Okay, so that's after my first loss. And let's say I take my second loss.
Order field.
So I got in, oh my gosh, this trade
Order
didn't
field.
work. And now I do a self-assessment again after I'm in the trade and I'm done with the trade. And this time, my self-assessment, I'm like, I held my breath. Held breath during trade, right? Also noticed I leaned sorry, it's quiet. You can hear my keyboard though, that's cool. So I held my breath during the trade and also leaned forward and my chair got hyper focused. Okay, I now figured out that on my second trade, I'm starting to feel some type of emotional impact, right? And when emotions get involved with trading, you will lose your logical thought process, and that will then lead into tilt. It will get you into that point where you're like, you don't care anymore. You're like, oh, whatever. I'm already down so much in this account. I don't care. Whatever, right? That's where we need to develop some process and identify your trigger before it becomes a problem, because after you're in tilt, you're not getting out of that until different things happen. One, you hit your max daily loss if you are lucky enough to be at a firm with a DLL like that, which is 40% of your account. You should never be risking 40% of your account on any one trade or one day, right? So either you're going to hit that or you're going to blow your account. That is not a long-term sustainable thing that you can do as a trader. You have to stop it before it becomes a problem. And you can't stop it once you're already in tilt. Very, very hard. You may be able to randomly stop it sometimes, but in most cases, you're going to go beyond that point. So what's important is identifying the trigger before and not knowing yourself, right? Because it's really about that. That is the secret sauce to trading, is knowing yourself and knowing how you as a trader perform in certain strategies, knowing what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and knowing if a particular strategy fits your psychology as a trader. Because if it doesn't, you're going to be battling that strategy at all times, and that's not a good spot to be in. Sorry, I went into a lot more than I should have on the tilt thing, but I think that's really good info for people to understand. So I kind of want to welcome everybody. We have a bunch more people joining. Great. I'm so happy everybody's here. Thank you for your time. So last week, we kind of challenged everybody, right? Our challenge was, look, put in the work. The work that you put in after hours or before the market is really the work that's going to pay off the most. Things that you're doing intraday with trading, you're not getting as much value as you would if you put in the time back testing or digging into your data, stuff like that. Everything, most of the measurable stuff that you get to get better as a trader happens after or before market hours, right? In the day, while trading, those nuances that you see, that stuff, yeah, it's important, but after hours, that work is way more important. So we challenged everybody last week, hey, do all your work, put in the data, and we got 2 volunteers today, and they are here to share their data with us, and it's great. We're super appreciative of that because we know that's not fun to share your data and be accountable for that stuff. So that's kind of what we'll get into next. But first, I'm going to get into a quick recap, and this recap is more for people that maybe missed last week. I'm going to try to speed through this. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's a quick recap to kind of show you the features that we have and what these people we challenge, and what we're trying to get them to do is putting in the work. And this is what the work is. It's the basics of the system. So in the morning when you come in, the first thing you kind of want to do, and generally you're going to see this, overview, right? You're going to see your assessment, how far along you are in your assessment, how many days you're at, where you're at. And while talking about this assessment, I want to talk about the daily again. And I know I already talked about it, but understand our daily loss limit is 40% of your account. You should not be using the daily loss limit as your stop on the day. You should be, if your account is set up in a way that you have a max earning that you can have, then you shouldn't risk more than what you can make in a day, right? It's not moving you forward any faster. It's not helping you. And the reason we have these rules, understand the reason we have everything structured the way we do is because it breeds success. The people that make it through our assessment, we have like an 80% pass through rate after they pass the assessment into a funded account. Like that's bananas. That's crazy numbers. And that's because people, when they follow the rules, they have really good guidelines. It's not usually strategies that hinder people, it's themselves, and they get too ahead of themselves, and they get too caught up in the P&L, and they get too caught up in everything outside of what they control as a trader. So by having those rules and those guardrails to protect traders, it really develops good trading habits and it breeds success. So please, if nothing else you take away from this, reduce how much risk you take a day. Reduce it to be 1-to-1, and you're going to find a lot more success in our system. So getting into this trade routine, right? So this basically in the morning, you want to check in, you want to identify these key conditions that you're feeling, because these conditions create tension in your trading. And it's really good to identify these conditions before you start your day. So lack of confidence and sleepy. You may, with lack of confidence, be hesitant to take trades. You may perform poorly when you're sleepy, just like a professional athlete. If you have a lack of confidence or if you're sleepy, these will impact your game. You're not going to have good games or good trading if you're not on your A game. And if you know that before and you can look at this data later on, it's going to be very optimal to your trading, and it's going to help improve your trading to know these things, right? So, morning check-in, it kind of gives you a little bit of a breakdown. You got your market news. Is there news today? Yes or no? We know there's news or yes, right? At today, FOMC minutes. But we want the trader to identify that there's news, because a lot of traders will know that there's news and then know that they don't trade well in news and then trade it anyways. And it's like, if you don't trade well in news, or your system doesn't work well in news, then let's identify that and show you through data that every time you trade on news days and you know that there's news, you don't perform very well. Next thing is market bias. This allows you to say, hey, ES today, I think it's bullish. And now you've marked it as bullish. So now that you've marked it as bullish and then you go to short it all day long, you can look back in the day and be like, oh my gosh, I marked it as bullish and I literally tried to call the top all day long. And all I did was get run over by the market. That's not a good thing. And then you can start your daily journal. So this is pretty cool. I mean, each day, and we're going to allow people to save templates, and then we're going to have pre-made templates for popular trading styles, like maybe NADRO or ICT or supply and demand, and then it will give a template, and then you can kind of have a nice little framework every day that you can go through on your journal. That's in the future, but anyways, daily goals. So a daily goal that would be great for this recent competition, this recent challenge. It's not really a competition, but recent challenge would be tag every trade with a setup. Do the work. I know that's not really the best description, but that would be a great goal, right? Literally, if that's all you do, you don't do anything else in our system other than tag your trades, you're going to see a measurable difference in the potential of what you can do as a trader, right? With data that adds extra conviction, it adds extra confidence, kind of the same thing as conviction, but that all equates to better trading. You'll hold winners longer. You'll hold, your trades. You'll get into your trades. You're going to execute better because you have a statistical edge because you back tested your data. And also, if you tag trades and these setups or boredom setups or whatever trade, there's bad trades. Now you can look at the simulator and realize like, hey, if I cut out all these bad trades, my win rate's going to jump substantially. Now you know what to do to get better at trading. You're not just feeling around in the dark, right? So now you'll get a summary. It's going to show you, I didn't mark the news today, and it's going to let you know all this stuff. Okay. So, oh, I didn't save it because I didn't go through the last step. I closed it. Complete. There we go. It's completed. Ooh, yay. Right. The next thing would be you can close out the day. Can you go back to the slide real quick, Raj? Just want to make sure I talk about everything. Okay, morning check-in, trade ideas. So trade ideas is basically a concept that we created where you can, yeah, there we go. So you can basically go and create a trade before it actually happens. So a lot of traders, intraday traders, they may be stocking a setup. Like let's say it's an imbalance pullback, NADRO system, and you are waiting for this setup to happen, and you're waiting for it. You have key criteria that you're looking for on that particular setup. So let's say let's say breakdown short. Let's just use that for an example. So there's rules in here in your trade setup, right? You're stocking this trade. You're waiting for this trade to happen. This provides you structure. This provides you guidance because look, trading, there's a lack of accountability. The only person you have to be accountable to is yourself. And this, what we're trying to do is act like an accountability buddy to keep you on track, because most traders would be very profitable if they could just get over all the mistakes they make, and they get in their own way. And this is how we do it, is through creating really cool systems to help guide you along. It's not going to fix everybody, and it's not going to change you overnight, but if you continue to put in the work, it's going to make you a better trader. And that's what we're all trying to do, is we're all trying to get better. Trading is a lifelong thing. It's not you're going to be a master trader overnight. It just doesn't happen. Even after a couple of years, you're going to continue to get better, and using tools and having a framework and having a system and having these things built in is going to make you a better trader over the long run. So through this, you can say, hey, I waited for 9:30, I waited for the 5-minute close, and I took the correct risk, right? That's your pre-check, and then you could get into a trade. Let's say I go ahead and take a trade real quick, and boom,
Order field.
Trade. Here's my trade idea up here, and now I can go down here and say, hey, apply this trade idea. Boom. Now it's applied. Now my idea that I had up here is now applied to my trade, and you can see it was the breakdown short. It has these rules. The rules carried over. All this stuff came in, and now we're all good. We're in this trade. Hey, this trade didn't work out. Now they're loser.
Order field.
Not good. Whatever, right? Okay. So through that, you can grab a lot of data. It's really good stuff. It's a pre-checklist. It keeps you on track. It keeps you accountable. And accountability is so limited in trading because it's such isolated thing, right? You're by yourself. It sucks. That's what we're trying to be. Is we're trying to come in and help people through providing the correct systems. So configuring setups, you kind of saw that. So when creating a setup, I don't know if he actually changed this yet or not. He may have, but we'll go into the planner, close this real quick, and we'll go ahead and create a setup real quick. So here's the setup. He did. He actually changed it, and here's some examples. So I'm glad to see that we made an improvement there. So we'll call this Brandon Rocks. I think I already have one of those, but we'll make another one because he went ahead and updated this and made it better. So Brandon Rocks 2, we'll say this is the icon we want. We want to go ahead and add a category. We'll call this risk. And now we have this subcategory, and then we can add rules to it. Take 150 risk. All right. So now we got a 150 risk, finish setup, and now the setup is added, right? Brandon Rocks 2. Cool. So that's the setups, and now the reports. This is kind of putting everything together and looking at the data, right? So I have my reports page pulled up here, and what I can see in my reports page is as I'm doing the work, I can see my Sharpe ratio, I can see my win rate, I can see my duration, I can see my top 3 setups, I can see all the data independently, and I can see my performance, right? At first I was doing great, not so great, not so great today. It's letting you see your performance, and it's letting you click into the days and see how you did on that day and what setups you took and what tags you set, right? All this stuff is crucial because when you dig into it, this is where you find and honed your edge. You can sort it by just tags, which doesn't look like I tagged any with that. Let's do this instead. 4 trades with FOMO. I FOMO'd in. And as you can see, it's kind of all over the place, right? My data is not the best data to look at because most of it's just test data. I don't actually trade this particular account. I trade through Sierra. So those are my own personal records. But this is just test stuff. So actually, here's, if you hover over everything, there's actually an explanation for what this stuff is. So it actually gives you the calculation and how we come up with the math right there. So it's actually pretty cool. I didn't realize that. So yeah, digging into everything. We'll go into more of that once we get in with our 2 guests. So let's go ahead and do the giveaway. I know everybody's waiting for the giveaway. So entries open, winners are picked by the wheel spin at the end. So go ahead and enter. We are doing a giveaway today. Good luck to everybody. And after you guys enter the giveaway, we'll give everybody a little bit of time to go ahead and enter. We'll go and get into a walkthrough of the detailed reports. I think we should probably mix that in with, I think JT's going first, and we could do that at that time. So we're not kind of doing it over again. We'll try to keep this stream short. So we're adding value, but condensing it down. So if anybody has any questions or anything, we could probably pop some questions in now and then get into JT and get into his data. A custom emotion into the prep session. What emotion were you looking to add in? Oh, unhappy? Yeah. We could definitely add some stuff in. We're totally open to that. You know, the emotions we put in there, let me just go do them real quick. What we were trying to do is add emotions that basically would have an impact on your trading. And I would say being unhappy would probably have a impact on your trading. So lack of confidence, sleepy, relaxed, focused, angry, anxious, happy. So I guess it would be happy and then unhappy would be the 2 emotions we'd add in. I'm just trying to think if that overlaps with any of the other ones. Yeah, we'll notate it. We'll think about adding that, and maybe we'll add more. And you can always, like, we'll have like it add more, and then we'll have like a list of even more emotions. But we'll keep like the condensed list. I don't know. We'll talk about it. Thank you for the suggestion. We love suggestions. Giveaway, possible add custom emotions. Already talked about that. TradingView as an option to trade from. You know, I think there's a way we can use TradingView, but we haven't really dug into it yet. We are about ready to launch ETP Trader, which then will allow everybody to trade with NinjaTrader, which is going to be a great option. But unfortunately, I don't think we have an avenue for TradingView. I know through Dorman and using a different data feed, we could potentially offer TradingView. It's just not something we've flushed out yet. So I can't give any ETA on it. It's something we've talked about. We just don't have any path or plan right now for that, but it's something we'll talk about in the future. We just have a ton of stuff we're developing. We're being pulled in a million different directions. So I can't really give you guys a heads up on when it would be available. Let's see, what data on scalping NQ Tech Sims compared to real data? Yeah, so you're gonna see differences in live sim environment versus you know, trading the NQ in an actual brokerage account, because look, there's liquidity constraints. Algorithms will change depending on resting liquidity and stuff like that. So there's going to be differences between the two. I can't really, depending on what your strategy is, I can't tell you if you're going to notice a big difference. But when you start sizing in, you're going to start getting hunted a little bit. But it's going to skew your metrics a little bit, but it's not going to be like night and day difference. You're talking probably like 5 or 6% win rate difference. but in reality, I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people tried to allude to, unless you're trying to like play the game, the bonds game, where they were doing some weird stuff with order queuing and stuff like that. But in queue, I don't think it's really going to impact you that much in scalping and going to the live brokerage account. And that's something, once you get to the brokerage account, we can definitely work on your strategy with you to figure out how to get it to work well in live, right? Because that's really what our goal is to get people out of assessments and into a live account where you can actually make money in the market. Because a lot of these firms that are stuck in this live sim model, if things really do come down or things change and that model is gone, then what, right? If you don't have an end game and you can't get into a live brokerage account, you can make a bunch of money in the sim environment. But if that goes away, then what? You're going to have to find strategies that work in the live market. And there's a ton of them. There are tons of strategies that work in the live market. It's just generally people get in their own way, or they change strategies too quick, or they don't know the real numbers. And that's what really causes, issues for them, the inconsistency in their own consistency of what they're doing, right? They change stuff too much. They're too random to ever let anything really work. Okay, so kind of got through some of the questions. I know we have a lot more, but I want to respect the time of the people that we have on stream. So we're going to jump into their data now. Let's get on that. I don't want to extend this too far. So first we have JT. And JT, let's look at your data. Thank you for joining us today. First, let's get into a little bit of your background, like how long you've been trading. Are you kind of new, or you've been around for a while? And have you noticed anything in your data on your own so far?
Yeah, okay. I've been around trading for a couple of years now. Still very much a beginner and working on it. I fight myself mostly. And honestly, since I've been using your guys' data, or not your data, but like your tools, I've noticed an improvement because I actually know where I'm at. A lot of times I was taking notes and my notes weren't really doing me much good. It was like just random stuff all over the place, and I couldn't really make sense of a lot of it. So what you guys have put together has really helped me. So
yeah, and to speak on that, the random notes and kind of like the inconsistency with tracking data is what me personally, I had the same issue as you. I would do it for a while, or it would become it would become overwhelming to do the work. And by doing what we did with creating the system and making it pretty much automated, and literally all you got to do is just put your setups in, it reduces a lot of that workload and makes it more consistent, right? And with consistency of data tracking, you'll find a lot more usable data, where I would know like certain queues or certain setups, but my data was so all over the place, I didn't find enough value in it. So when we built this system, and Josh and Brandon really killed it, our goal was like, how do we make this process of collection easier so people actually do it? Because there's too much value in it not to do it, right?
That's exactly right. Like my notes would be like the scribbles of a madman almost, like I'd be going over it and it wasn't making sense. So
I'm right there with you, man. Right there with you. You look out here like, what was I don't even know. Or you would pay for like TraderSync or something like that, and then you would have to like, literally, it's the easiest step ever. Like upload your trades to TraderSync, and you're like, I don't want to do it today. Nah. Right.
Yep.
And normally it would be like after you had a bad day, and you're like, I don't want to revisit all that.
Actually, you said that last week, and I totally agree with that. Like there was days where I'd blow myself out, and I was like, okay, just put the books away. I'm not even going to look at that.
Yeah, I don't want to revisit those emotions. It's not worth it.
100%.
So cool. Let's get into your data and kind of see what you found through collecting the data, and let's see if we can start to build a process to make you better. And as you know, trading's really hard. It's not an easy endeavor to get involved in. And that's why having a clear process to get better is really important, because when you're just kind of randomly guessing on how to get better, you really never get better. You get better really slow, or you just kind of take a step forward and then 14 back. You know, it's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
But that is trading. Cool. So let me add this to the stage. This is your data, I believe, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So kind of, you don't need to walk us through anything like your setups and what you're actually trading, other than how many setups are you trading?
Well, I've got, here I'll go into my planner. So this is the configurations that I've set up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And
Okay.
then a no setup is number 7. And those are usually the bad ones.
Yeah, aren't they the random?
Yeah.
Let's just go dabble my toes a little bit in this one, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I just made a mistake getting into this trade, and then because you made a mistake, you don't want to get out of the trade until it's break even, and then you overhold that bad trade, and then before you know it, that bad trade turns into a really bad trade, and that's by identifying this stuff and going into the simulator and looking at the data, it really helps you break out of that cycle, right? Because you can see, like, if I just get rid of these dumb trades, oh my gosh, this works so much better.
Yeah.
Really great job identifying the setups, right? It's very clear. You have the zero buy, the zero sell, and you have very clearly defined setups. This is great because when it's broken down to this level, we can go into the setups to figure out, one, if you're trading more than one product with these setups, are certain products trading better? Two, does the long work better or does the short work better, right? And then leaning into those better setups and taking more of those and less of the other ones. And maybe there's not more examples like you can't take more trades, but at least you can get rid of some of the bad trades. So, that's the quick overview of all your setups. Let's go ahead and jump into your reports panel.
Okay.
And this is kind of where we can start filtering stuff. And what we'd probably look at first is, let's get into the setups right there in the filter section, further to the left, upper left, kind of where all the filtering happens up there, right there, setups. And then what we can do is actually click setup by setup. So if you just go to your first setup, click there. And now it's going to show you your P&L on that setup. So at this point, it looks like you have a okay profit factor. Win rate's pretty high. And you have some kind of, looks like you initially went down and then you started going up and now you're kind of in a downtrend. So on your win, it looks like you had 5 winners in a row, max of 2 losers in a row. That's great. What's your, on these tags, it looks like buy, sell, scalp, follow rules. Good, looks like you're following your rules most of the time. Let's go ahead and go to your trade history real quick.
Over here?
Yep, trade history right there. Okay, so here's what I'm noticing. There's a potential, and I don't know why your wins, and this is where win rate and stuff, this starts being very glaring, right? You have a really high win rate, but your returns aren't matching your losses. So your losses, as you can see, you took a pretty big loss of $154, but your biggest win is 196, and then all your other wins are kind of these weird sized wins.
Yeah.
So that tells me there's some inconsistency in the way you're managing your risk or how you're taking profits. Is that by design, or is that because you're not holding the profits?
So when I get in a trade, I wait for my setup, and then I have a profit take of 5 points, and I go in with 5 micros, and I take 3 off at the first, and then 2 more targets of 1 and 1. Most of the time I'm hitting my 5 points, and then the other ones usually get stopped out, and then I get the odd runners that will continue on. I try and position, so I try and hold the trade as long as I can.
Okay.
But when you see the larger losses, that's when I take a full stop, right? So yeah, that's part of my problem, is my wins are not as big as my losses.
Yeah, and that's a huge issue, and that's gonna
Yeah.
create a lot of tension in your trading.
Mm-hmm.
So the system that you are trading, is it required that you take scales like that, or did you change to take scales like that because of psychological like hurdles that you're going through?
Yeah, psychological. So a lot of times, I'll get into a trade, it'll go in my favor, and then I'll move my stop into profit, and it'll come back and take me out. So I
Got
was
it.
taking a 5-point target to at least get something out of it, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Understood. Very common. So for you to have bigger losses than wins, it's very common. Okay. So that's one area we can start working on is like, okay, how do we start putting in little planned things to help you get better at holding your winners and controlling your downside risk? So some of your risk, I'm assuming your max risk should be 154. And then you have some other ones where you're like at 103 and 73.20. You know, you have inconsistency even in your drawdown risk, right? So we
Yeah,
need to
so
start. Okay.
go ahead. So I have like a 10-point stop, like a disaster stop, and most of the time I'll only let it go like 5 points. That's my most I like to do, which is around $150, $160.
Okay. And is that because when you back tested, this is what you found and discovered worked, or is this because of psychological things?
Psychological. I'm trying to find the optimum stop and the optimum target, right? But
Okay.
I haven't done it long enough to really
To
go
know
through
yet.
the numbers.
So you're
right?
in the collection of data period right now, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
This is great. This is what we do with the data is we figure out, okay, so through back testing, and I'm sure you can back test the strategy, my suggestion during that back testing, because you need to get some clarity beyond just forward testing, because at this point you're forward testing and trying to kind of fill it out. But with back testing numbers, you're going to be able to determine, and it looks like you're trading the ES, right?
Yeah.
One, is a static stop a feasible thing, or should you be using an ATR based stop to account for volatility in the market, right?
Right.
So if you're using a static stop when back testing, then it doesn't matter. That static stop works perfectly fine over a year's worth of data. That doesn't matter anymore. You don't need to use a adjusted stop per trade, right? But we need to figure out if that works, if it's feasible through back testing. So that would be where I would start, is take just this one setup, go back a year and manually back test these setups. And through manually testing, figure out what would be required max stop to get as it capture as much moves as possible. And then additionally, figure out if it's all or nothing and try to get out of the scale out, scale in thing methodology for now and just test one strategy that way, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to build a good base. So if you follow all your rules, you do everything you're supposed to do and follow it to the T, this is my results on this particular setup. If I continue to, allow my psychology to interfere with my trading, this setup trades like this, right? And you're giving yourself a comparison to be like, hey, if I trade exactly like I should as a trader, this is my end result. If I trade this way and kind of interfere and adjust stops and do things like that, because the reason most people adjust stops isn't usually built into their strategy. The way they back test it is all or nothing, right? It's really easy in back testing to be like, oh, if I put my stop here, it's a 10-point static stop and my target is 20 points. It's a 2R return. That's great in back testing. But when you go to trade it, you don't trade it that way. You end up adjusting your stop on the fly or adjusting a break even though when you back tested, you never adjusted a break even. The reason you do that mid trade is because you are feeling the pain of the trade and you don't want to lose, right? But that's not how you back tested it. So you have inconsistent back testing with how you're actually trading forward testing, right?
Yeah.
So that's what the data helps us determine is are you trading consistently or are you trading kind of at the whims of your psychology, which unfortunately that's how most traders trade. And you're not broken. Everybody does it. That's why we built this system to get better and make small improvements every day to identify that we have these issues so we can get better, right? trading's very isolated. So it's very hard
Definitely.
in a vacuum to get better if you don't know how to get better. And that's where building the systems, we're trying to help people get better at this stuff, because everybody struggles with these same things. So cool. Let's go in and unclick this first setup and get into your next setup. So unclick that one, get into 12B. It doesn't look like there's many instances, and it looks like risk is a little bit different on this one. This is a short setup, so just maybe less setups because we're more in an uptrending market, or
Yeah, and I just technically don't like shorts.
okay.
They're
So
fun
another,
to get a good one, but yeah, I'd prefer to stay away from the shorts.
Yep, and that's probably something that you've learned and created some type of bias, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I suggest though. For the data collection period, one, do it in a test account. Do not risk your real money. Don't trade. I'm going to tell everybody in this live stream right now, don't sign up for an assessment until you have a back tested strategy. Sign up for a really cheap test account. The resets are like $2. Like, sign up for that and do your testing without risking your real money. Like, don't put your money on the line. Don't get, I mean, it's crazy that we're a business and, you know, we make money by people signing up for assessments, but that's not what we want. We want people to practice in a safe environment. Don't put your money on the line. Don't risk your real money. Risk a little bit of money. And if you sign up for a practice account, it's super cheap. And it includes the data. It includes, you know, the journaling. It includes all the analytics. It includes the stuff to make you a good trader. So practice first, get a good strategy first, collect all the data first, and then take the assessment after you've proven that you can do what you need to do, right? Then put your money on the line and really risk the money at that point. Right now, it's $19 for a practice account. It's super cheap. And you get all this stuff. You can't even get a journal system for $19, I don't think. A good one anyways. We give you an account, the data, and, you know, customer support, and all the analytics. Everything's included, and a safe environment to test in. Utilize it.
Right on.
Right? So going back to it, the point I say that is take every single trade. If the setup is there, even if it's a short, I know you don't like taking shorts, force yourself to take the short trade, because look, the shorts might actually be better than your long trades. You don't know, because you have that psychological barrier that's stopping you from taking those shorts. Collect the data. This is data collection mode. Take every single trade you can take. If the setup is there, I don't care if you've back tested it and you know it's good, take the setup as is and take it on its purest form, right? Focus on the process. Don't worry about the outcome. You're in a protected environment. Get the data. Take all the shorts you can take. Take every single trade that shows up. Get all the data, and after you collect it, you can figure out, okay, well, yeah, the shorts don't work, right? Right now, you just have a confirmation bias that they may not work, right? Because of past probably confirming biases. But you don't know really until you collect the data if it's a good or bad setup. So collect it. And then later on, when we go back into your data, we can sort it and be like, yeah, it is a really bad setup. Don't take them, right? But for now, we don't know that because you don't take enough of the setups to know, right? You're building a database right now. So get all the data. Don't just collect and cherry pick what you want to collect. Collect it all. So going back into the setups, go ahead and go to no setup. Yeah, so it doesn't look too bad. I mean, overall, it looks like you probably don't have as much conviction. You're not taking big losses. Quantity looks okay. So at this point, you know, the data, you don't have enough data there, but good job collecting it, because it is important, because over the longer term, what you're going to find is random trades are generally going to be losers. And those are going to be the trades that blow up accounts. Those are going to be the trades that really mess you up. So keep records of that. Okay. So go ahead and unclick that and just go balance TZ. Okay. Click next. Go ahead and go through that one. I'm just kind of, we'll go through them all pretty quick. So go back to the upper TZ. Okay, that one didn't have any. That one. Few. Okay. And now just click all of them. I want to see all the trades. So I think if you, yeah, you should be able to
Click on all of them.
Yeah, or hit all up there. Oh, maybe not. No, don't hit all up there. I don't think that would be the right way to do it. There you go. 14, 225. That was like a break even. Did buy scalp bounce. Yeah. Okay. So your data doesn't look too bad. What we need to do is continue collecting the data, and you need to trade it as mechanically as possible. Stop interfering with the trades. If this is a test account, right? And if you don't have a test account, reach out to support. We'll get you one because you're already a customer of ours. Eventually, and pretty soon, we're going to have it where you can just get a test account if you have a test account with us, where it will be all automated. And it's just we're torn between a million different things we're working on, and we have a limited staff at this point.
Right.
So reach out to us in support. We'll get you a test account, and eventually everybody will get them. But take every single trade and take it as to the book as possible. Like literally, if you have every single rule, make sure every rule is met. Take every single setup that happens, even if it looks like a bad setup, and basically trade it just like you would in a backtest environment, right? And collect the data. And then that data is going to be a lot more optimal to look at. Right now, your data is good, but it's a little bit hard to digest and actually utilize because there's inconsistency in the way you're actually taking the trades. So the data in itself is kind of compromised. It's not very good data at this point, right? What we can gain from it is, one, your risking is kind of all over the place, and that has to do with psychological barriers. It's totally understandable. It's part of trading. You're choosing not to take certain trades even though they're part of your setups. And until we collect the data in a way that it stays consistent, the data itself is only going to be so good, right? And that's probably the next step that I'm going to provide to you is like, hey, take every single trade, collect the data as holistic as possible, as, basically as mechanical as possible, and then let's look at the data after the fact.
Okay.
So day of the week, if you want to jump into that real quick. Okay, looks like Fridays so far, this is limited data, but Fridays don't look too great, right?
Yeah.
What was Friday? What happened on Friday?
Last Friday, I think, actually it was a good trade last Friday. We can go back to. Yeah, so it was a good trade. It didn't work. Everything lined up the way I wanted it.
Okay.
So
go ahead and close out of that real quick. Looking at your calendar, what immediately jumps out to you?
Losses are definitely bigger than the wins.
Yeah, that's one thing. But what else? Both Fridays.
Two Fridays in a row, yeah.
2 Fridays in a row. Could be completely random, or maybe your system doesn't work as well on Friday, right? But until we get good collection of data, we won't know that. So continue to trade and collect more data. But so far, potentially Fridays might not be a great day, and it could not. Maybe it's your psychological issues peeking through, or it could actually be that the strategy just doesn't work as well on Fridays. And maybe on Fridays shorts work better. Who knows? Like, that's why we need to make sure you collect all the setup data and trade it as close to mechanical as possible, and don't worry about the outcome of the trade or how much you're making or anything like that. Focus on the process. Don't worry about the P&L. Like, that doesn't matter. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to time of day real quick in the analysis there. Okay, so definitely might have a trend here early in the morning, right around the 0.7. So you might want to keep an eye on that. Looks like you take a lot of trades during that time. Looks like most of your losses during that time, and you have a really low win rate during that time. So that's something to keep an eye on. but these are just starting to trend. So we got to kind of look at that. But that would be a key area if I saw a ton of data from like a couple months and right at 7 o'clock, it just was not working out well. One, it could be a psychological issue that we dig into depending on your tags, what tags you put in during that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it could just be a setup issue where one, maybe at that time the volatility is higher or lower, and those particular stops you're utilizing just aren't working during that time period. And that again is something you got to look at when backtesting, because through backtesting you're going to find out, okay, through this data, does my setup just not work during this time period? And if so, guess what? You can cut that setup entirely, and now you're increasing your win rate and your profit factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two birds, one stone.
I like what you said about the ATR as well. Maybe my stop should be something to do with ATR as well,
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to work for your strategy. That's why trading's tough, because things work for certain people. Like a strategy I could give you is like 42% win rate, right? Great, but guess what? It only happens 1 or 2 times a week, if that. And then long stints of losing streaks can happen, but it's a 5-hour trade, so it's very, very profitable. However, can all traders trade it? No, because psychology will interfere. They won't be able to trade it because they can't hold those winning trades that they get. They're going to try to put a stop on it, whatever. They're not going to give it enough room to be successful. And then they'll turn a 5-hour trade into like a 2-hour trade or a 1-1-5 trade. And it's not going to make up for all those losses that you took, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important that when you're backtesting, one, if you're using ATR as a metric, that you backtest it. Don't just willy-nilly throw new stuff into your trading style or setups unless you've backtested it. And the only reason you're changing things in your setup is if you've found and confirmed through data that it's better. Like, don't just arbitrarily mix in new stuff like that. I do that a lot. Like, I will literally, in my younger time when I was going through assessments and stuff, or tests or whatever you want to call them, even in my live brokerage accounts, I would get on this roll where I'm really killing it and doing really well. And then as soon as I got to that next stage, or as soon as I would scale up, I would literally throw everything out away I was doing and want to change everything up. And it's like, what are you doing, bro? You already found success. Why are you changing stuff? Like, just stay with what was working, right? Because we're always feeling like we have to be changing or improving or doing something. And generally that's not the area to improve in, unless you have data to back up that you should be in changing something, right? So that's kind of the words of wisdom there for me, is don't change something unless you have data that confirms you should be changing it. So with the ATR thing, yes, it works wonderfully. Or use VWAP deviations. That's another great thing to utilize. However, back tests to figure out if it actually works and what your targets should be. If you're increasing, if you're increasing your ATR as a stop metric, then that's also going to change where you're looking to make the trade go, right? Your target may need to increase based on an ATR as well. But then you need to have the backtest data to basically view it, to be like, oh yeah, if I change it to ATR, like let's say it's a third of an ATR for my risk and a full ATR for my target, then my win rate drops from 80% down to 70. But if I look at the comparison math, the lower win rate is actually better because I have a higher R multiple, right? That's where we need to look into the data to confirm that.
Okay.
Be data driven, and that will give you the conviction when you get into trading the system to hold it and be like, no, I'm not letting this trade. I don't need to put a stop on this, because I know if I do take a stop, no big deal. But if I let it get to target, man, this thing pays 3R. Like, I would be stupid to put a stop on this right now. That's not enough room, right? And I mean, but break even stop. That's what's important. So
yeah.
Sorry to get long-winded on that, but I'm just
no, it's all good.
All
good. I actually get taken out a lot by break-even targets, or
and that's a protective mechanism that you're going to do as a trader. Like, it just happens. Like, super normal, super common. Don't feel bad. We just got to build in a way to inject logic during that point where you feel like you need to put a stop, and that's only through backtesting. You got to do the work in the backtesting to show yourself like, hey, if I trade it like I should or forward testing, then I don't need to worry about the stop, because look, the numbers will play out. There's an edge here. Like, I don't need to worry about taking a loss because I have a winner around the corner. It's not a big deal. So if you go to the trade simulator, we'll touch on this real quick. And with the data that you have, and we really appreciate you sharing the data, you know, it's tough because with the data that you have, it's kind of cherry picked in the sense that you need to collect the data raw. So if you're going to take a setup, take every single setup. If you're going to take a loss, take a full loss. And if you're going to take a win, take the full win, right? And with that, then we can adjust based on what those numbers are if you should take scales based on some math, right? Not just a random, like, I should scale here, right? And then taking scales at the right point, at right, you know, profit targets based on ATR or based on whatever metric you decide. And then it's more calculated. It's not just so hectic and as you said earlier, like madman notes, right? You don't want to trade that way, because if you're not consistent in the way you trade and the way your process is, then you're never going to find consistency in anything. You're just going to be inconsistent all the time, and it's very frustrating. You don't want to be there. So in this trade simulator, basically what you're able to do is you're able to show a P&L if you were to cut certain things out. So if you go to the hours of the day, right there on the right hand side, see where it says hours?
Oh, right here. Yeah.
So go ahead and click 0600. Go ahead and click 0900, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Get rid of 12 o'clock. Okay, so if you just cut out those hours, that's where your projected P&L would be. Just all you have to do is cut out those hours, right? Now this is curve fitting. We have to be careful about curve fitting because right now your data is not very clean, right?
Right.
We know how to fix it. We know what we need to work on. But this is where the power of tools and analytics come in, because now you can visualize where you would be if you cut out certain trades, right? Less is more in trading. So go ahead and unclick. So let's go to the next thing. Let's go to your setups. Leave those all clicked. That's fine. We're gonna see what we can do with your data.
Okay.
So go ahead and click the 12B. Click the 12B balance. Don't click the sell. Click the 12B lower, and that's it. Okay, that's where your P&L could be right now if you just trade those setups, right? Now, again, the data is not clean, but we'll get there. So now go down to, let's do days. And cut everything out except, actually just cut out Fridays. Cut out Fridays. That kind of skews it either way. So put all the days back in. And this is kind of where you get to mess around with the data to figure out how things would impact your trading and how they would impact your P&L. This is what we're doing. We're digging into the data to look at, if I did this, this would happen, right? So now go into your tags, and this is dependent on how you tag things, where we could start looking at different, so followed rules. So go ahead and click that one. So you can see your drawdown becomes less and your P&L didn't really change too much, right? But this is where you look at maybe bad tags. Okay. So it didn't follow rules. Go ahead and clear that one out. Oh, I think we got to figure out how to sort it. I think unclicking it would be the best. So I think it might already be unclicked right now.
Yeah,
we may have to turn off the other filters, actually.
All these ones?
Yeah, you might have to go through all the other stuff. Turn off the hours too, and we'll just go purely through your tags. Because it's really dependent on how you set up the tags, how we have to filter the data.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so followed rules, that would be if you just followed rules, regardless of the days and stuff like that. So if you click all the green ones, maybe all your green tags, it would kind of project that. Now unclick all those and only click your bad tags. and it's probably going to overlap with kind of your P&L right now. So just click your bad tags. And you can see now it's pretty much where your P&L is now, right? I think there's still something else selected. Oh, okay. Go to setups and unclick all the setups. Okay. So yeah, that either all your tags. Oh, go to no tags too. I don't know why it's not projecting. You may have to look at that. I'm not sure why it's not showing correctly. We'll look at that later, but yeah, you should be able to project to show what your P&L would be if those errors weren't there, or if you did well in those areas. I'm not sure why it's not doing it. It might be a glitch of some sort, but we'll have to look at it. Okay, so that's Trade Simulator. That's kind of the purpose behind it, is to look at where you could be if you cut certain things out or only took certain trades, right? And it's a huge tool, because with this tool, it allows you to see where you could be if you were doing what you should be doing as a trader, right? Easier said than done. Trading is very tough. Emotions get in the way, and that's where you need to have, those identifiers before you get into that type of tilt, right? We talked about that earlier. Cool. So that's kind of the data. We've dug into it. I don't want to take too much of your time. We'll go ahead and jump into the next set of data, and we'll see what we can see in that one. But now you have kind of a clear idea of what you should be looking at, how you should be trading it. Reach out to me in chat, either DM or our customer support, and then we'll schedule a personal one-on-one coaching. And then we can dig into a little bit more, and then I can give you some more guidance on some other stuff, and us two can just look at your data, and we'll get you on path and get you squared away. You have some good stuff, and I think we can definitely get you in a position where you can start earning some money in a live brokerage account, because your system definitely has an edge. We just got to fix some of those issues you're dealing with, which everybody has. So
yeah, right on. Great. Okay. Thanks a lot, Brian.
Awesome, man. Thanks for your time, JT. Appreciate it.
You bet. See ya.
And now we have our next guest. No camera? Oh, yes. There's a camera. There it is. She has a cooler background than me, and she has a better microphone.
Yes, no.
Hey, at least we have white microphone.
Hey, we're matching. We're matching.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. I'm sorry you had to go last.
No worries.
The best for last, maybe.
Hey, that's what I like.
On camera. He wasn't even on camera, so I mean.
I know, JT. Come on, we're in the same time zone.
You've by seeing your little nice setup, I'm gonna go today to Micro Center and go get a mic and look more official. This doesn't look all that great. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes, motivation.
Okay, cool. So we went over the stuff with his. We'll get into your data. Thank you so much for sharing your data, because look, it's personal. And you have to be vulnerable. It's not fun to look at data.
It's not.
It's not. You're like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Let's do this. It'd be so much better. But that's what it is. Trading is very tough.
It's a mirror. Absolutely.
Fix audio. She is much louder. Yeah, she has a better mic. My mic sucks. Hers is very nice. That's why her audio is much better than mine. Cool. I don't know if Raj can adjust your audio. I guess you're a little loud.
That means I have settings right here too.
Yeah, I just turned her down a bit.
Okay, cool. All right, handle. Yeah, it's because her mic's better.
Thank you, Raj.
All right, cool. Let's pull up your data real quick. And while we're doing that, could you give us a little bit about like what type of trader you are, how long you've been trading, and kind of where you're at on your journey?
Today I'm a degenerate. Okay, I have
normal trader.
I'm here to scale back. Okay, I've been trading since March 2020. So before the world stopped, before we went into lockdown, I was actually pregnant with my daughter, and I was like, what am I going to do next? I was in customer support, and I was leaving the company, and it just like a light bulb was like, oh, the stock market. I've always had interest in it. So I actually came from trading a personal account. So where you needed like 25,000 for the PET rule.
That's where I started.
So, see?
And I started with Ross Cameron of all people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was a degenerate gambler. That's what I was when I
Wow.
first started. Yeah,
You're
those
taking
are
me
hard
back
hats
because I'm
to
thinking
break.
about
Trust
like Tim Sykes and stuff too, you know?
me.
So
Yeah, exactly. Penny stocks, all that stuff.
that's
Tim
so I come
Sykes.
from trading the OTC markets, like
Okay.
literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So,
started in the same spot.
all
Josh,
right.
same thing. Yeah.
Oh, really? See, in our
Yeah.
own money, like we were using our own hard
Oh,
cash.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Been there,
scared to
done
put
that.
like $100 in the market back then. Okay. So,
Right there with you. But you
you
had to
know,
come up with the 25 to be able to have an account. And it's like, then you find
exactly.
futures and you're like, oh my gosh, like they regulate the markets and there's no dark
Like
pools you have to work
what?
with.
When I
Yeah, that's
first got
weird.
into the prop space, that's what actually threw me off because actually back then I did turn 1,900 to like 30,000 in like 3 months. I mean, but we had the stimulus popping, right? We had the GME, we had everything going on during that time. I didn't do GME though, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like
all you got to do
everything
is
was,
get long and you made money.
that's it. Everything
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
up. But I got into that euphoria feeling of everything's going up. And so I was swing trading a lot of things back then. I did a little bit of day trading, or I started as a day trader, but then I moved into swing trading some. And that's where I made a lot of that money, But then when it started to drop, my mind was like, oh, it's just on a pullback.
Mhm.
And it kept falling. And I lost a lot of money, back then. So but I wanted to get over that PD2 rule. So fast forward, I went through the OTC market over into crypto and then into options and then into the FX prop space. And that was back in September 2022. And I started in the prop space area over there for FX, and I traded gold for like almost 2 years straight. So I only trade, one instrument. When I got over into futures last year, because the whole the world was falling in the FX space, I moved over into futures. A lot of the prop space the props were closing down. They were banning US traders. There was a lot happening, and I had to make that transition actually over into futures. The best decision in life. Okay, I actually love futures, but I had to adjust, right? Sizing. I had to figure out which instrument would work for me. At the time, I realized that gold, I kind of outgrew the pace of gold, if you will. And so that's why I moved over into NAS. So now I do trade NAS, which is funny because that's what I was trading at first before I got into gold, and they scared the mess out of me. But now I've been trading NAS since not February, about April and May of last year here in futures. So just now in the prop space, and I'm pulled some good money out. I've made some money in it, but now I'm back at a floor of refining myself because, of course, after this, it's always the plan to get into a personal account, right? And I don't want to be a degen over there. I don't want to be blowing my account because, I can. No, I want to just kind of hone in on my skills a little bit better. And so when you guys' company popped up, my friend, a really good friend of mine, she told me about it, and I was like, they seem to really, care about the development of the trader. I just told her today, I said, this is the longest I've ever taken on a challenge. I'm usually, I get in a few days, I can pass a challenge and be into a funded account, but I've slowed down. I'm taking my time. I'm understanding my data even differently than what I've had before. Right. So we're going to see when we pull it up what I'm doing now. But I'm not as JT got it together. I have not been able to put all of my setups in there, but I do have some stuff that I've been labeling and kind of, playing around and getting familiar with adding my tags and things like that. So kudos to JT for what he's done.
Yeah. He did a lot of work on the tags. The primary thing, the tags aren't as important as just the setups. That's it. Like this, if the only thing you do each day is just when you take a trade, you identify it as a setup, that's where it really comes into play in the data, because then you can be like, hey, this setup has an edge, which then helps you to have more confidence when you trade that setup, to be like, no, I know this has, this expectancy, right? I know it's going to have this many losers in a row. And because of that, I can adjust my risk accordingly. And I know, with us, the assessment, I know it's tough, but we have to put people on guardrails, because look, other prop firms will let you blow an account in a day, and it's like, what did that do for the trader? It didn't help the trade. It doesn't, because they blow the account. They didn't learn anything. They don't understand, even if you pass the assessment, that's great, but what if assessments stop? What are you going to do? Because you can't trade like that in a live market. You're going to lose your account if you don't find consistency in how you approach the market every day. And if you don't
Right.
find consistency in your risk, you know, those lucky windfalls that you get to pass an assessment and get a payout, those aren't, you're going to get wrecked in the market. You're going to lose all your money plus some. You're going to get a margin call, right?
Absolutely.
So it's bringing people back and putting a hard guardrail and giving them a good foundation, because foundation is lacking in the space right now. Like, everybody's stuck in this gambling mindset, and it makes me feel sick, because like, we worked at another firm where we didn't limit resets, and I saw people spending like $6,000 a day on resets. It's like, what
It's
are
insane.
they're
I
not
know
getting
people that
anything
do
from
that.
that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no value there. All we're doing is allowing a person that's gambling to gamble. It's like, that's not what I'm here for. That's not what we as a company are here for.
Right.
And I know people promise, they're like, oh yeah, we're all traders and we're for traders. And you hear that same cadence over and over, but it's like,
Right.
we're like, okay, we're not just going to say that. We're going to give all this stuff to people and like limit their resets and limit how many accounts they can have, and like give them a structure and a foundation. And we're going to prove it by what we do, not by what we say. And
Right.
hopefully, you know, that's starting to change the space. And I think, you know, recently TopStep has announced that they're going to limit resets
Yeah, they
now,
are.
which is great. It's like, well, we were the only company that came out and did that. And it's like, yeah, it hurts our bottom line, but it's like, I don't care about the bottom line when it's like, it's at the expense of all these freaking people getting themselves into trouble financially. It's like, $6,000
Absolutely.
can pay for a vacation for you and your family. Like, that gets your kids something really nice. And you just had a kid. It's like, not too long ago. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that is something, that's a Disneyland trip or a Disney World trip.
Absolutely.
Like, why are we letting people like blow themselves up like that? That's terrible. It's not helping people. And that's where we come in and be like, no, we're going to put guardrails. We're going to put a daily loss, and you shouldn't be hitting your DLL because it's 40% of your account. You should never risk 40% of your account one day, but people do it.
Absolutely.
And then they get mad
I've
that,
done it.
you know, they're,
Yeah.
they get behind on the account. It's like, well, you should have never risked that much. That's like literally emergency stop. We just don't want people blowing accounts in one day. And you should actually have more like a 1-to-1 stop where you're earning about as much as you're losing each day, right? So any one
Absolutely.
day is not going to set you back 2 days. It only sets you back 1 day, right?
Right.
And that's what we're trying to help people understand, is like, we have the guardrails, our rules are tough, but it's like, we want what's best for people, and accountability and rules and the stuff that actually helps people is what we've seen at the firm where people were actually successful. It's like, these people made it because of this. And
Right.
that's where we're trying to push people in the right direction. But thank you so much for sharing. I know I get long-winded on stuff, but
No,
I'm
it's
passionate about trading. I
important.
love trading.
I love it
Um,
too. And I've been, you know, that's why I had this set up, right? I'm used to doing, I used to do webinars and things like the importance of journaling and things like that, right? Because that stuff really matters to me. But it got to a certain point of the survival mode of, I just need to make money, right? I just need to get a payout. You know what I mean? And then you see all these people, that's all that they're doing, right? And so it does leave an impression on you. And then when you have the heads of the firms doing the same thing, you know what I mean, or saying that they're for the trader, and in reality they aren't. You know, they're just here for you to spend your money. You know what I mean? And so that's why I'm saying it was great coming across you guys, and even my choice was to do the practice account first. I said no, I need to show myself that this is something that I can do the way that I know that I can do it, right? Because I've had stellar months at a time, you know what I mean? It's just me, again, getting into that survival mode of like, well, these people are trading 20 accounts. I can do 10 accounts. You know what I mean? Like you want to see a certain success faster than what your pace may be at the time, right?
Yeah.
And
they get focused on the P&L. They get focused on all these guys bragging online about how much they're making. It's like, well, that's great, but what are they risking to make that amount?
Make that, yeah.
Does that
the
fit your
back end
psychology?
That we don't see.
Yeah. Can you trade the same way that they trade, and what aren't they sharing? Because in reality, like, I mean, even TopStep, I want to say their joint account that their traders trade is like negative 300K or something. It's like,
oh, the house account you see it every day on. I'm sorry, but on
TopStep, I don't know. What are you showing? Like, other than you're not making anything, and I don't know. And it's not at the, it's not because there's not strategies that work. It's literally people get in their own way and they want something now. Right. And we're such we're just
Instant
everybody
gratification.
is instant gratification. We're in
Absolutely.
that wheelhouse right now, and like you can pick up your phone and get food right now. I can order something from Amazon and have it right now, and like
Right.
everything's instant gratification, and that's not trading. Like you can't
Right.
force a setup to work. You can't force a setup to happen more than it happens. Like
You have to wait.
trading's boring.
You literally
wait.
have to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Let's get into your data. Thank you for sharing. So I think
Sure.
Raj is going to pop that on real quick. There we go. Practice accounts. Thank you
Yes.
for utilizing the practice account, because look, it's great that people want to come in and spend a bunch of money and get an assessment. It's like, but the reality of people aren't ready for it. It's like, get into a practice account and prove to yourself that you can forward test something with very little risk. $19 isn't much. Like, I mean, McDonald's is like $13 now. It's like a little bit more than
Right.
McDonald's for a
Right.
meal. And it's like, dude, it's invest in yourself. We provide the
Absolutely.
journaling, we provide everything, and it lets you prove without risking a bunch of money. And that's
Right.
what's important. So cool. So, one thing I see right away, you're losing days, you're about on pace with your winning days. That's really good consistency, right?
Yes.
It doesn't look like you're tagging all your trades. That's a no there. You should be tagging all your stuff.
I tagged, yeah, I think I tagged most of when I started. Oh, I think it was after the you guys had a webinar last week, and that's
Okay.
when I started learning more.
Okay,
So that was
gotcha.
the 13th. Yeah, that's why the tags started coming in, where I was
We haven't
like,
done the best job of like pushing and teaching everybody like how to use this stuff. It's like, here it all is, and it's super overwhelming. But when we were developing it, we're like, no, everybody will figure it out. And Josh is like, no, guys, I've been making this stuff forever. It's going to take people a while to figure out because it's really complicated. And I was like, no, it's easy. And it's like, no, it's actually pretty hard to learn.
it's just
and
a lot
know
of
a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of detail, which is great though. Don't get me wrong. It's just I personally, when I got here, even with the 12 trades on the 6th, that was me sorting out, if I'm going to use micros here or if I'm going to go into minis. I wanted to get back into, and so that's why now it's all just 1 to 2 trades because I'm back into my mini zone. And I'm really good with minis. But I took a spell into micros to adjust myself. And this was like for maybe 5 months last year. I had to just dive only into micros until I got back to a point where it's like, okay, I've outgrown the micro stage. Now I can go into, the mini stage. So here it was me sorting that out. What am I going to do here? And that's why I like this practice account, because I'm able to see what I want to do moving forward, right? Like I wasn't in a rush of like, let me trade 15 minis here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do that, but you know what I'm saying? It just wasn't that mindset. It was like, how can I just trade well right now? Just take my time, no thoughts,
This is the thing. It's like your stats right now look very consistent. And I can tell you're not just swinging for the fences, and you're being honest with your self-reflection. You got some C's and some F's, and those are areas you can improve upon. And even now, even with some of your psychology issues, look at where you're at. Like you are controlling your risk very well. And especially if you can clean up in some of these areas that you didn't do very well in, you're just going to get that much better. So kudos to you for taking the right direction, taking the right step, not trying to approach this as like a gamble thing. Really good.
Thank you.
It's great to see that you're utilizing it. You have good, consistent days. I'd love to see every single day with a setup tag. Let's jump into your data a little bit, and we'll talk about each of your setups and kind of not necessarily what you're looking for, but like why you have certain days with, the colors. I'm assuming those are different setups, and then other days with no colors. Are those different?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I was like, when I was putting the colors in, I'm like, wait, is one for like, longer, short, or is it for like, because I saw the negative, positive, and neutral. So that kind of threw me off. So I'm working out how I want to. Yeah.
And if you ever need help with anything, reach out to support. We can always jump on a call. We're still really small, so we're kind of more like boutique-ish.
Which
we can walk you through everything and help you with it. But the colors are purely, your reference on what color you want. It doesn't have to be green or red, or it can be purple or gold or whatever you pick. It's really just to help you identify what the setup is, and then the little images on setup. So if you go to the planner,
Get the
real
little
quick,
icons. Go to the
yeah.
planner.
So go to
Okay.
planner real quick.
Oh, I'm clicking the wrong thing, you guys.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
Okay.
So see the 5-minute bear flag, okay, into the 20. That's your setup, right?
Yeah.
And then you could actually, just click it real quick. So see the little icons below. That would be how you could add an icon to it. So maybe if it's a long, you could use the indicator that kind of looks like it's going up, or you could actually go to more down there, and it's a bunch more icons. And now you can personalize what the setup is. And the purpose behind it is just a quick visual reference on those days to let you know what setups you took, right?
Okay.
So whatever you want to pick icon wise, that's just basically how you could pick an icon and stuff. And you don't have to use them. You can use leave them blank just like you got right now and just use the colors. Just hit escape and it should pop out of there, or click out.
That's what I'm pressing. It's not. I'm gonna just pick one now.
There we go.
It's fine. I just picked one.
Okay. Cool. So diamond. Okay. Cool. So that would be how you would basically use the icon for the editing the setup. And tagging and setups is kind of two different features. So the tagging, and I kind of mix them up a little bit, but the tagging is more for like, okay, if you had FOMO, you felt FOMO on a trade, or you took too much risk on a trade, that would be more of a tag, where the setup is more of like, hey, this is your setup, your playbook.
Okay.
Right. So
okay.
You've named them correctly. You got a 5-minute bear flag. That sounds like a trigger for your setup, and that's your setup. Great. So go ahead and.
But see, I don't have any rules or anything around it because I'm.
Yeah, you can always add those if you want.
In it. Okay.
That's up to you. If you want to add rules, you can, and you can have like a pre-checklist where if it's a 5-minute setup, you could say wait for 5-minute candle to close. If that's your trigger, right? Part of your trigger, you put that in there, and you could check it off to make sure it was done. If it wasn't, then it's a violation of your rules, right? It's part of the process. Then you have the 5-minute SEP off 20 and then a TL rejection. You don't have colors on those ones. So my suggestion is probably put a color and then an icon to give you a quick reference to let you know that, hey, this is the TL setup rejection. And that would be whatever color you'd want and whatever icon you'd want.
Yeah, I saw that when you were going over with JT, how I can go, because I've never even clicked this button. I'm gonna be honest, the planner.
Yeah, there's a lot in our dashboard.
I didn't. I was so used to just, doing my regular morning routine, the get started here, and I've got to put in my fill-ins and all that stuff, right? And I do all of that, and then I go through adding some setups and stuff, but I was only doing it on that one page. I didn't even click this, but yeah, I saw how you could go into. I thought that was awesome. I'm like, oh, okay, I can go in here and really make the setup prior to me taking the trade. So,
yeah. So, anyways, we'll get into that later. But the colors and stuff like that, reach out to me. I can walk you through all this and more give you some guidance on it, because it will help you visualize what setups you took, and then it's just a quick, higher elevation view of everything, and it just real quick to be like, oh man, this, clearly this isn't working on this day, or this is working really great on this day. That's awesome that you're tagging everything. It looks like you're tagging everything. You just need to do the colors just to help you give a quick overview. Then you have your goals, stuff like that. We don't need to look at that. Let's get into your reports a little bit and see if we can find any data that's helpful for you. So we kind of talked about some of this stuff when we're talking to JT, and let's get into the setups real quick and start going setup by setup and look at the data for each of these setups. So let's go to your 5-minute bear flag. Wow, 100% win rate. How many trades total have you taken?
Probably like 2 or 1.
1 or 2, okay.
Couldn't have been a lot, yeah. See, it says 1 trade. Right.
So 1 trade so far. So not enough data really to tell us much other than, hey, that 1 trade paid well, right?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get back into the setups again, and then unclick setups. Just unclick that and go down to the 5-minute SEP off 20. There we go. All right, another winner. All right. I like that your P&L, like your profits that you're taking, are very consistent among the two, right? Both of them have been pretty much the same profits. It's great. Okay, so go ahead.
That's those good brackets.
Yeah, the brackets orders are great. So unclick the 5-minute one again, and then click the TL. Let's look at TL. All right, so some different data here. Looks like 3 trades. Looks like your losses are much less than your wins. Great. That's really good to see. Normally you don't see that. It's really random. Okay, so next one. It's your, okay. Continuation, another great one trade, one win. Great job. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Deal break. So 2 trades, looks like both losers. Okay. All right.
Because I'm only
now,
taking 1 to 2 trades a day. I'm being very, that's my consistency goal, is to keep myself from, I got to, when I was using micros, I started over trading more because I don't know, I have all these micros and it's like, I want to make a certain amount of money. You know what I mean? So it was like, I'm doing 5, 10 scaling, and I'm scaling in a lot. I don't have to scale in as much, you know, when I'm using the minis. And so, yeah.
Looking at your data, you would be one of the people that get through the assessment, and then we would pass directly to the brokerage, because your consistency with drawdown and risk and stuff like that is good. It's great. Like, we don't usually see that. Usually it's like your wins are kind of smaller than your losses, and your loss days are usually outstripping like a couple of your winning days, where your risk is very consistent and your wins are very consistent. So kudos to you. Let's continue to track the data, because look, whatever you're doing, the edge is there, right? But we got to have more data, or else it's kind of like we don't know exactly where to trim and adjust and stuff. So, but so far you're killing it on your risk and what you're doing. So keep doing what you're doing. Don't change anything.
Okay.
Let's look at your data's limited, but let's look at your day of the week stuff.
Day of the week.
So
Okay.
day of the week, let's just look at that. So more trades on Tuesday, Thursday. Looks like Sundays are. So are you trading after hours generally? Are you?
So there's a Asian. Sometimes there's a Asian gap play I usually do some Sundays, and so that's where this one was skewed. I actually wrote it in. So I love the journal. I wrote it in my journal. What ended up happening? I took it in a practice trade over on my TradingView, straight practice, like no connected to nothing. There was a good setup there, and it was a TL fail, like the rejection was there, and so I took it over there, and then I came over here to take it, and it was already after the time of the momentum that was there, and so it stopped me out on like 1 trade, and so
Got it.
yeah.
So
Or
is that
two-
a
whatever,
trade
2
that
trades, yeah.
generally you're going to take?
I've been practicing it. So I just came over. I didn't need to do it over here. That was a degenerate move. I didn't need to come to this account.
I mean, you're in a practice account, right? So the point of this practice account, if you're going to test other strategies, do it in this account. It's
Okay.
the perfect time to do it, right?
Okay.
That's what this account is for, because then we can filter out that data, and then you can look at how your actual performance should be, right?
So
and
you
then,
know what? That's smart. I'll do it over here then, because I was doing it in TradingView.
No.
Okay,
I mean, you
okay.
have the data, you have everything here. Take the trades here. If you're gonna forward test a new strategy, something that you've seen that you think works, start forward testing it. Do it in a very controlled environment, in a safe environment. And that's where this practice account comes in. It comes in clutch, because look, if you mess up the practice account, it's literally $2 to reset it. Like, you can't even get a cup of coffee for $2, right? So this is what environment we're trying to provide for traders. It's a safe environment to test things out, because what I would do is I would go into my real brokerage account, my AMP account, and forward test things in my brokerage account and lose money. It's like, what am I doing? Like, why am I putting real money on the line when I don't even know if this works or not? Like, I have a belief that maybe it works,
So
but I don't know. I don't have
works.
the data, right?
It just didn't work here. Like I took 2 trades over in the TradingView, and it worked fine. I was like, oh yeah, let me head over to here and take it over here. And that's what, and it was like, well, now I'm locked out for Monday.
Yeah. And if you're, and this is another thing, is you can have more once you get an assessment with us, and we're still working on this, but we're going to allow people to have more than 1 practice account. So you can have like 2 or 3 practice accounts, and then run different strategies in the practice accounts, so you don't have to worry about hitting your max loss on the day. And additionally, in the practice accounts, what I would recommend is making the biggest account you can make, and then basically, because you have a bigger account, you can risk more on trade, which means don't risk more on trade. Just take more trades in different systems, and then you don't have to worry about hitting basically your threshold or your daily loss or something.
Yeah, because
like
I
that,
have
right?
mine, like my parameters set within the parameter. So, my daily loss is 600 here, but I don't lose, well, my PDLL to stop me and liquidate and block is 350,
So
so
you're literally doing everything you should be doing, which
yes.
is like a breath of fresh air. Because generally people are like, no, I hit my daily and then I don't know why I can't. Like I'm not getting anywhere. It's like, well, dude, your daily is like 40% of your account. Like that's an emergency stop. Please don't use it as
He said
such.
that's emergency. Yeah, no, I
It
keep my
is. It's like the
parameters
oh my god, I went on
within the
tilt.
parameters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So good job on that. I commend you on that. I can tell you've been trading for a while because you've gone through all the beginner mistakes. Those are beginner
Oh my God,
mistakes.
yes.
Yeah. Been there, done that. It's not fun. It's
No.
a battle to learn. But
And I have
great
a
job on
family
everything.
like relying on me. So,
Yeah.
I had to take this like as professional as possible. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
You got to be accountable. A lot of people aren't accountable.
Absolutely.
It's great to see. I commend you for doing what you're doing. But utilize the practice account for that. Practice in it. Take the
Okay.
trades that you don't want to expose real money to in the practice account. That's what it's there for.
Okay. You're right,
and
because then I can track it and understand, more of it.
if it's
better.
actually working, what the hit rate is, where you need to adjust risk based on the hit rate, losing streaks, right? Losing streaks are really important. People gloss over that fact is like, look, you're going to have losing streaks. And if you're not in the right mindset and you don't risk the right amount during those losing streaks, those losing streaks will literally bankrupt your account. They
Yes, it
will
will.
destroy your account. And that's where you need to work backwards, where people are like, oh, this is how much money I can make. It's like, whoa, hold on, time out. How much money can you lose if you get into a
Right.
bad streak? And that's where you need to protect your account. So good job on that. Let's look at trade duration. Like you don't have a ton of data yet because you're doing what you should be doing, but at least we have some data here. Profit loss, I mean, looks great. Number of trades, it looks like you got some scalpy trades with some higher end, longer term trades. Great. That doesn't matter because you're very profitable so far. It looks like your most profit is in that 10-second, 30-second range. Let's go to symbol comparison. You only trade the NQ, right?
Yeah, only trading. I only did MNQ one day. Like I said, I was trying to figure out. That's how those first 2 days were like. And then, like you're saying, the protection of the PDLL. The first 2 days were 300 losses. They were $600 first 2 days. And with having that, protection at risk in place, I've been able, the very next trade was $500 something. And so it basically covered those 2 days almost.
And that is trading. That is trading. Like people think they're never going to have a losing day. They're never going to have a strategy that just it wins every single time. It's like that is not trading. Strategies go in cycles. They get on hot streaks, they get on losing streaks, and you gotta deal with the losing streaks to get to the winning streaks. And perfect example, yeah, you had 2 bad days. It's going to happen, right?
Right.
You didn't get all crazy. You didn't, go on tilt. You didn't blow up the account because you put in those protections. And guess what? A day later, you got a $500 hit, and then a day later, you got another good win, right? It happens. It's part of trading. Like you're on the cusp of that next stage. You're there. Now we just got to collect all the data and dig into it and just hone you a little bit more. And then before you know it, we get you into a live brokerage, and then we start scaling you until you get to that point. You're like holding your breath in a trade, and we're like, okay, we need to back you off a little bit. Let's back you down.
Right.
But we still have those guardrails, and we still protect you, and we still hold you accountable. And that's where we want to get traders. And that's through a slow, methodical process of, collecting the data, getting good habits instilled, and you're doing it, you're killing it. Trade simulator. Let's jump down into that. That's a really beautiful P&L curve. Okay. So generally when I see P&L curves, they have these huge swings up and then ginormous swings down, right? Terrible. Look at your win rate. Win rate's not crazy good, right? Doesn't matter.
That's like my whole 4 years. Like
doesn't matter. Your win rate is perfectly fine. My win rate is a little bit higher than that, but I go for bigger R's, right? Yeah, you can have a higher win rate. Everybody gets sucked into this, like, oh, I want a 90% win rate. It's like, and what? You have a high win rate, but you lose way more money than you ever make But
Yeah,
with you,
yeah.
look at your P&L curve. Really nice. You're starting to flatten out a little bit, but that's just the cycle of trading. So good job on that. Let's see if we can go through all your data and try to trim some stuff out. I would
Mhm.
say the MNQH5 trade. Let's scroll down a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Hours. I mean, you don't have enough trades right now. The only thing I would say is you could filter out Sundays and maybe that would change it a little bit. But at this point, we need more data. You would actually do the reverse, click everything but
Oh,
Sunday.
okay.
So click all the data. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. You could even filter out Wednesday, and this would give you a projected, that's what your P&L could be. But you don't have enough data to really utilize the trade simulator yet.
Okay.
So we need to collect more data. We're still in the data
Okay.
collection period, but you know,
Yeah, it's only been a few weeks.
I
So.
don't have much to say other than keep doing what you're doing. Your P&L curve looks really great. You're trading the way you should be. You're risking what you should be risking. I have zero doubt that you're going to make it through the assessment and get into a funded account.
Okay.
And once you get there, keep doing what you're doing, because if you do, you're going to find a lot of success. You have strategies. Don't be digging around looking for more. Just keep doing what you're doing and document everything, because that's where you're at right now. Data collection, data collection, data collection.
All right. Thank you, Brian. That does
Yeah.
mean a lot. I appreciate it.
Cool. So, if you need some extra help, reach out to us. We can definitely get you, sorted on, the tags and the setups and stuff, and explain a little
Okay.
bit further for you. We haven't done the best job of making videos for that. Some of the videos are a little bit longer, but that's kind of where we're at. I think we're going to do the giveaway now.
Okay.
So we'll do that. And then also reach out to support. And then JT, also reach out to support. We owe you guys something.
Okay. Thank you. This was
Cool. Thank you so
awesome.
much.
I
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. So the wheel of, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people on that wheel. All right, Raj, spin away, buddy. Spin away. And we are spinning, and we're spinning. Is there music? Who do we got? Who do we got? Whose name can I butcher? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Congrats to that person. I cannot pronounce their name. I am sorry. You have won. What are we doing on the credits, Raj?
We're doing a $200 credit.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. Congratulations. You've just won $200 for entering. Next one. Juan, I can say Juan. I know how to say Juan Escobar. Congrats. How many are we doing, Raj? 2?
We can do one more.
Does everyone want to do 3? Everybody, chat. Come on, let's see some people get excited in chat, and then we'll do one more. Congrats to the winner. Okay. Pamela, thank you. Anybody else? Excitement in the. Hey, come on, guys. Okay, let's go. All right. That's all we needed. One more person to say it. Okay, another guy. All right, 3. We're doing 3. One more. And around we go. Where are we going to land? Hopefully it's on a name I can pronounce. It is Chris. Yes, I can pronounce his name. All right, congrats everybody that won. We will be sending, I believe, emails out to those winners. And other than that, I'm going to try to speed through this stuff real quick. This is all just, what we're doing here. I think most people have heard this stuff, live brokerage accounts. That's where we're trying to get everybody. This live sim stuff doesn't help anybody. This gambling stuff doesn't help anybody. With our live brokerage accounts, we do daily payouts. We process those through Rise. If for whatever reason you can't get through Rise, or something's messed up with Rise, or it doesn't support in your state, I know South Carolina has some problems, we'll pay you ACH or Gusto. We will find a way to pay you. That's daily. We recommend, not daily because it kind of becomes cumbersome, but if you want to, we can do it. Generally, Weekly tends to be the best for traders. We're not having to hold their account, because when you do a withdrawal with us, we do have to hold your account to be able to withdraw the money and then reutilize it. We learned from past mistakes where we paid somebody out and then they lost all the money we paid them. That was not a fun experience. So that's the reason we do that. $75 resets. Yep. We have a TFD X, which is Project X, as well as Trader and Rhythmic Access. We're looking to add some more in the future. We just don't have timeline or any guarantees on that. 80-20 split, that's new. I think that's better in the space, so we decided to change that. Real-time technology, you guys all got to see that demo today. Free coaching for funded traders. You kind of got a taste of what we do for funded traders. We also work on risk plans. We try to do back testing and some other things to help them. And we also try to gauge how they're performing, and then maybe provide some extra guardrails for them, or extra support, moral support, or, if we have to, we can act as, kind of the moderator of sorts to make sure that they're staying on task, right? Accountability buddy, more or less. Strategy development, fast support. Yep, we try to do our best to respond to support as quickly as possible. We got some people on vacation right now, so it's a little bit slower than we like, but he'll be back soon. Tax and financial benefits. So one, there is huge benefits with $19 practice accounts. Look, don't risk your own money, man. Get a practice account. It's something we offer to the community because it adds value. It helps people. And we can sleep well at night because we know we're trying to do the best we can to actually help traders and not just prey upon gamblers. That's not our MO. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people. Renewals start at 29. I know there's some confusion on that sometimes. So the point of the renewal is, one, to basically pay and cover the costs of data, support services, all the different things we pay for with the accounts. It's account maintenance fees, basically, right? And that includes the journaling and includes all the cool stuff, but that does not include a reset at that renewal period. The reason we don't do that, and the reason we are able to charge 29, is because we don't reset your account, right? And that allows people to spend time in the assessment. However, if you do a reset, it's all now $75, much cheaper. And that also provides an extension of 31 days. So if you reset, you don't need to worry about bumping into the next renewal. So we thought that was pretty much the best solution. We're always open to more, but we thought that was the best way to handle it. First, charging more monthly, where now people are in this mode thinking they need to rush through the assessment, and then they're jeopardizing it, or they're waiting or blowing up their account intentionally to then reset it because they're up for their renewal. We didn't think blowing your account intentionally is a good idea. It's not a good habit to establish. You should never be trying to blow your account. And a lot of people would be doing that if they knew they had a renewal coming up. So reset is a much better metric. So challenge this week. I don't remember seeing this, but okay. So the challenge is, I'm learning about this right now, like you. Look at your best trading hours and only take trades inside that window. This is a great tip. Look, I know it's fun to take a million trades. I know it feels like you're accomplishing something when you're taking a ton of trades, but you're not. You're hurting yourself. Reduce. Less is more in trading. Reduce how many trades you take. Look inside of your data. You know how to do that now that we've all talked about it. And look in your data and find what hours you trade best in, and then cut those hours you don't trade very well in. Get rid of them. Just cut them out and see how your P&L does better this next week. Does it do better? Does it make no difference? What is it doing? I'm sure you'll see a measurable improvement because you cut out those bad hours. All right, next slide. Next week, reducing size to increase success. So next week's topic will be basically, look, we got to reduce the risk of each trade so you have enough runway to be successful. A lot of people trade way too much size, take way too much risk per trade, which never allows them to have any runway to find success. And honestly, if you can't have more than a couple bad days in a row without blowing your account, you're never going to make it long term. There's going to be periods of time where your strategy just doesn't work for like a week at a time, right? And if you don't have proper risk control during that time period, you will blow yourself up. I don't care if you're an assessment, if you're in a live account, you will self-sabotage and you will just destroy your account. You will give back months of profits in a week if you don't have proper risk control and proper oversight. So we'll get into the proper sizing next week, and we'll do some more giveaways next week too. So thank you everyone for joining us. If you're comfortable about being on stream for some live coaching next week, feel free, reach out to us, shoot us an email, or you can DM me directly on Discord if you're on Discord, or send us an email. Email's there. Take a screenshot. Other than that, let's wrap up. Thank you everybody for joining us. We really appreciate it.